recently I found this family photo on the left, and it made me realize that I'm pretty much still excited by the same things that got me excited when I was 10 years old. I remember in that moment just before my mom took the picture that I decided to jump as high as I could so that I would seem taller than my grandma. Oh, okay. So after I found that photo, which was really recently, it made me realize that everything I do in photography is pretty much inspired by the same sort of basic ingrained interests. I grew up watching like Jackass and prank videos on YouTube, and it really had a profound impact on my photography career. And I didn't realize this until pretty recently. So I've been really interested in sort of like mischievous or physically challenging things, and I think watching all those videos on TV and YouTube also taught me that content is really important, and the way you shoot it is important too, but it's really about the content. And I really wanted to make pictures that had that kind of like Jackass content, but were also beautifully shot. So at first I tried to get my friends to pose in the pictures, but they like consistently said no. So I ended up just taking them completely by myself because people wouldn't even want to press the shutter, which was difficult for me. Oh, yeah, so this is sort of an example of what my photography looks like when I'm shooting by myself. I have to control the camera settings and pose at the same time, and I work a lot with animals, so that can be quite difficult to do. But most of the time, I am experimenting. I shoot things 5 or 6 times, sometimes more. It takes me a month. In this case, this was something that I got right in the first try, thank God, because it was so hot. So this is wax. It's about 10 candles that I put in a pot and melted and started pouring on my head. And it's interesting because when I start taking these pictures, sometimes I don't exactly know where the picture is going just because of how unpredictable the elements can be. But like, for example, with this one, it ended up being something that I was actually quite happy with. So this is the final product. And I don't think, like, I've never seen anything like this before, and that was kind of what I was waiting for, is for content that I've never seen before. And no one, like, especially with girls, there's not a lot of prank videos or girls kind of doing jumps and stunts and things as much as I would like to see. So I really strive to do that myself. This is me with the 2 swans in Hyde Park, and this was about early April to May. And so the first iteration of what I did was a costume with styrofoam that I found in Hyde Park. And I wasn't super happy with the way that the costume turned out. So I kind of simplified, and I went with just forks and spoons that I found also in the pond. There's a lot of forks and spoons sort of lying around the pond at the beginning of spring. And I was pretty happy. Like, this is just 3 versions of the exact same like sculpture I made for my face. And I was trying to figure out, like, this is nice, but it's kind of missing something. So then what I ended up discovering was that like spoons look amazing on your face. And so I really thought that helped, because a lot of it's like, well, if an alien saw forks and spoons for the first time, what would they think that their purpose was for, especially if you just see them around a bunch of swans. So this was the first try. This was when I went out, this was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and it was early spring, so it's really, really cold, so you can only take the picture like once, and then you start to get hypothermic, and you have to get out, or not hypothermic, but it's painful. So it was too dark, and I didn't have enough energy to sort of wait around and warm up and take the photo again. So then, wait, I just dropped a bunch of papers, sorry. Okay, this was supposed to be a video of the second time that I went, which is when the swans sort of started to come more from both sides, which is more of what I wanted. Before, they were sort of circling around because they weren't used to me yet as a person, like they were confused. And then this was after about 6 tries, I eventually got them to sort of start to come from the right angle using like trails of bread. And in my hand, I'm actually holding a piece of bread, and I forgot to take my watch off. So like, there's always things that you don't expect, and that, like, this is another example where this was the 3rd time I went to this location. People were mad, like it was a very scary shoot, and these are like separate jumps, and I took more than this. Like, this is just the beginning of the shoot, and I'm jumping off of someone's wall, and it's pretty scary, and someone's yelling at me, but you just have to keep persistently going. And it was the shoot that was at the beginning. So I've started working more with other people, and I try to kind of find, like, lots of people have fears, but there's one thing that they're really brave at, so I try and find what that element is and then kind of make a photo about it. So, you know, this guy was totally unfazed by these sparklers, like, right next to his legs. And I sort of started doing this a year ago, and it's been sort of a steep learning curve because I didn't go to university for photography, and I've kind of been learning off of Google. So I was kind of hoping for like a dramatic progression of quality in terms of my work over a year. I think that I've actually, like, one of my favorite photos is this one, which was one of my first photos that I ever took. And I think it's like, just goes back to that idea of simplicity, and that the content and the ideas that you have and really the thing that you do is the most important part of the picture. Like, this was really scary. This took me over a week to prepare. Those baguettes are really heavy. The raccoons ripped them off. Like, and then, you know, working, I actually, this can be controversial, but I actually believe in like hands-on with nature. And so this was really working with leopard frogs. And it took, like, it depends on the time of day. This was later at night, so it was a bit cooler, so they're a bit more calm. And you can put them on the glass, and once the light flashes, they get pretty calm. And then this was sort of like the very first picture I ever took that sort of started this, where I found this trailer, and I was like, this trailer is awesome. But if I just take a picture of a trailer, no one is going to care. I need to come up with something else. So I threw in all that I had, which was just like Fruit Loops, and I had my bathrobe because it was Christmas, and that was it. So, thank you.